Welcome to Generations, a show which helps people 50 and better lead happy, healthy, and productive lives. Here's your moderator for today, Nadia Giordana.
Hello and welcome to Generations. I'm Nadia Giordana. Let me introduce my co-hosts today, Jeff DeZeller.
Well, thank you, Nadia. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always great to have you here, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And Ed Noreen.
Hi.
There's only one Ed.
Yep.
And before we leave from Ed and go to our guest today, I want the audience to notice Ed's glasses, which he hand-painted himself. That inspired me to do the same thing, not exactly the same because different artists, different results, and I'll show you what mine looked like. This was a pair of glasses I didn't like anymore, and they ended up way more fun,
Really fun.
than the plain, ordinary black, what do they call these, Wayfarers? I don't know what you call yours.
Actually, I'm an artist, and I had the idea of you take latex, and all you have to do is take a little brush and just add it on, whatever you feel like it. We used multiple colors and just kind of dabbed, went over it a couple times, and it brings the glasses alive. These
They're
are
fun.
clear glasses, and when we wear them in public, people love them, particularly women.
They think we're a couple.
They think they're very expensive, so we're sharing it with you guys. So if you want to paint your glasses, have fun.
And his were clear glasses, mine were dark, almost black. So it's a totally different look and a totally different effect. Fun thing to do with an old pair of glasses.
Very
Especially
cool.
when you're at our age, you want to be cute.
Anyway, all right, well, now, let's talk to our guest. We have a very special guest today, Midge Bubany, who is a Minnesota mystery writer. Welcome, Midge.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here today.
Yeah, it's fun to have you here, and we're going to find out. Let's just start by having you tell us how you got started and when. Did you start as a young person or after retirement? I'm not sure when you started writing.
Okay, well, I started actually thinking about writing not till I was in my 50s. So I thought about a book for about 5 years before I actually started penning it down, or on the computer, of course. About when I was a year before retirement, I started actually writing it down, took a class in mystery writing at the Loft Literary Center, came home and completely revised it, completely redid it. And in fact, one of the secondary characters became my main character of Calcian.
Calcian.
Yes, and then I,
So this first book was The Equalizer, the one that, the first of this series,
That-
or was it a different book?
well, the very first one was totally different.
Okay.
It kind of morphed into what is The Equalizer now.
Okay.
So then I wrote The Equalizer. I revised it about 7 times. And then I wasn't published until like 7 years later. And then the second one, Silver's Bones, came out a year later, and Crow-Winged Dead a year later. I had some of those, well, like Silver's Bones I had written while I was waiting to be the first one to be published.
So once you got that momentum going, but getting that first book up and out there, that takes an effort, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. I mean, I worked really hard on it. I wrote 6 hours a day, many days, almost every day. It's kind of a compulsion, I think. You know, I wasn't getting any younger, so I felt like I needed to keep going, or if I wasn't going to get it done.
It keeps people interested, I think, as far as you, the writer, as you see the progression come along. Did you
Yeah.
have anyone else read parts of it as you went along?
The first one, no, which I wish I would have. In hindsight, I wish I would have felt confident enough to share and ask for people's opinions. But which was really a silly way for me to behave, not to, get people to read it and give me their insight and find the errors and stuff. But I was, very insecure about it. So then when it got published, in fact, my husband really didn't read it until afterwards. So I was kind of waiting with bated breath to hear what he thought, and he really liked it, and he was really, I think, surprised that I actually could write a murder mystery. He probably looked at me a little differently after that. But the second one I had a friend read, and she helped edit it. And then also I had a friend who's a high school English teacher read it, and he gave me feedback too. The third one I had more people read. I had like about 3 people read too. So I am much more confident and comfortable putting it out there before, which you really should do.
Jeff, you're farther along than I am. I'm about halfway through the first book. You've read the entire first book, or are you into the next one?
Well, I've read The Equalizer. I don't have any other ones
Oh,
yet.
okay. Yeah.
But I did.
I knew you were going to.
I did read The Equalizer, and I thought it was terrific. I thought the main character, Cal Sheehan, which is interesting that you say he was a secondary character and then got promoted. But I thought he was a very interesting character, very likable and easy to identify with. And I didn't know who done it. I'm not very good at this. I'm the last one to know, but I didn't know who done it until probably the last 10 pages. So there were some twists and turns, and I just really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to reading the other ones.
Good.
I'm actually reading this right now. This one. This is your
The Crowing Dead. That's the third one in the
third
series.
one. Yeah. Which brings up a lot of questions. One is, I'm a writer myself, and I'm attempting to write a book. I've been writing for 25 years, and I haven't read that. Some people who write hear a voice that literally tells them the story. Alice Walker, apparently in Color Purple. It was dictated. I've had friends that it's almost as if a spirit comes into them and tells them the story. Do you have a force within yourself that's creating this, or is this something that's your process?
I don't really feel like I have a voice, so to speak, telling me, but it definitely, when I am starting to write, it just kind of comes out. I do loosely outline. I do know what's going to happen in the stories. It doesn't mean that it can't change,
Right.
because sometimes the characters take you places that you don't know. That's really the fun part of writing, is when you get a spontaneous thought, an idea, and take it from there. So, I don't hear voices.
We went to Mankato State College at the same
Yeah.
time, and Dr. Paul was the head of the theater department, and we both knew him. And you were an elementary school teacher.
Yes.
That was your primary career.
Right. So it's a
And
little
so
bit
that
different.
you started writing after you retired from teaching. Now, your main character is a male. And now, is this based on a person that you know? Now, you studied with the police department, the local police department. You watched the films, you got to know them, you went on rides, you really studied the profession. Now, is this character, your narrator, based on somebody that's real, or is it a compilation, or did you create the character?
It's not a real person, no. I try not to use real people, but I don't think you can help but draw from the people that you know. In Cal, I wanted to create a realistic police officer, a young, energetic, eager person, and not this. There's a lot of middle-aged kind of characters that are alcoholics, or they are disgruntled. They fight the system.
Cynical.
Yeah. And I didn't think we need another one like that. So I wanted to kind of create a man who is a lot like the police officers that I met.
He seemed real to me.
Good. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, he's not without his problems. He's not perfect. He's got some definite flaws, but that's what makes him interesting, I think. So
Now, being a female, do you check with your husband on what it's like to be a male?
I
Right for this year.
observe and listen, and I've worked with males, and you know, yeah, I think men might think differently, but they have the same human emotions that women do. Although women may not always believe that's true, but it is. So I think
Personally, I think we have the same energy. We're the
Yeah.
same spirit, just in different social forms and
Right.
bodies.
Well, there's a-
How did you meet your husband, just out of curiosity?
I met him at Duffy's, which was a bar
Sure.
in South Minneapolis, I think.
I
always
remember that one.
It had the same avenue and the same street, and I can't remember whether it was 24th and 24th or something like that.
But I remember it, yeah.
He sat down next to me, and I glanced at him, he glanced at me, and he turned to the person next to him and went like this. And I thought, oh, well, that's a big rejection. And he later told me that his friend asked if he knew me, and that's why he looked at me and shook his head. But we struck up a conversation, and I was going to teach out in California, and he was going back out to live out there, so that really was a nice topic of conversation, California. So, yeah.
Isn't it amazing how you meet one person in one moment,
Yeah.
and your whole life changes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
So what's your new book about?
The fourth one should be coming out in April. May is what they said, but it may be released a little early. That one is called Love 'Em or Leave 'Em Dead.
I love that title.
And it is the story of a woman who is found dead in her bed. She is a radio hostess of a radio program called Love 'Em or Leave 'Em. And she and guest hosts take calls from the audience, and they give a situation, a relationship situation, and she and her guest host will decide or give their opinion whether they should love each other and work together or leave. And so it's kind of a controversial show.
And these all take place here in Minnesota.
In Minnesota.
Situation. So it was fun to read the town of Brainerd come up, and different roads or places that I actually recognized.
Yeah. Crowing Dead is my third book, and that one went over particularly well in Crow Wing County in that area.
Oh, yeah.
As people, and I did use real roads and real, businesses, and people recognize that. They like it. I like it when I'm reading to know.
Grand Casino Mille Lacs.
Yeah.
I mean, someone took a trip there in the Equalizer.
Yeah. And he has a grandmother who is just newly got into gambling with her new boyfriend in one of the books, and he's quite concerned about that. But
Do you encounter any resistance having a female name on the cover, a murder mystery, and the main character being male? Did you ever consider doing M, whatever your middle initial is, Bubany, or not?
I had a lot of thought about what a name to use, but yeah, that did cross my mind to use M. I think there is a real prejudice against women authors, more by men. I mean, I think women will read both men and women authors, but I think some men might tend to just read male authors. I think that's true. I belong to an organization called the Sisters in Crime. It's a national organization. I belong to the Twin Cities chapter, and that was founded by Sarah Paretsky for that reason, is that women were not getting the deals. They were not getting the publicity by the publishers that men did. I think it's still a little bit true. I don't think that it's exactly even.
I
Well-
think you find that in acting, you find that in most professions. It's ironic, Agatha Christie is one of the greatest writers ever internationally. But I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think it had a lot to do with our recent election as well.
Well, and tons of men have written books about women that have been acclaimed as being
Oh,
in
absolutely.
the top 100 novels in history, and no one blinks an eye. So, how do they have more insight into a woman? My own personal opinion is that a woman is more likely to have insight into a man than the reverse. But it's just like Ed said, that's just the way of the world, unfortunately.
Well, industry has been dominated by males, period. We are in a male-dominated culture, and the world is dominated by males. So,
And the publishing business.
yes. and-
Publishing business in general, yeah, that's
Yes.
true. But these books are wonderful. We're having such I don't know, yeah, you started that one. I'm having fun. I'm only about almost halfway through The
Okay.
Equalizer, and I find the characters so real.
Oh, good.
Especially some of those family situations with Cal. Have you been listening in on my telephone conversations or what?
Well, I mean, I really stray from my own family very much. I mean, so, I mean, his family is so completely different from my own.
Yeah, you wouldn't dare, would you?
No. My mother was the sweetest, kindest person that I ever knew. And Cal's mom is a sweet person, but she's really a little flaky. And she was a little wild child when she was young. And so it's kind of fun to project other people's existences and lives. So
Well, it helped feel what Cal was feeling. So and I actually felt the distraction from his job, which he really wanted to focus on, and I found that.
I give him
riveting.
lots of distractions.
He's quite a ladies' man.
He is in the first
Getting
book.
to be, yeah.
Yeah. He really evolves and changes through my books. He's 32 in the first book, and I am actually writing book 5 now, and I think he's 37. I think I have it figured out, but so he has gone through a lot of changes and some problems along the way, and so he's maturing, and he's looking at his life differently. In book 2, he has a family. He gets married and he has a family. I don't want to say too much because it's part of the surprise, but so his focus really changes to that his family and children are very important to him.
So it's fun to follow along with the characters. And what I was wondering, have you done a lot of book signings, and have you been out and about promoting the books? Have you been real busy?
Yeah, and that's one thing that really surprised me. When I first signed, my publisher said, and you need to secure at least 10 events. And I, at that point, didn't even realize that I was responsible for that. But you are. You are responsible for
These
your own
days,
marketing
yeah.
these days. And I thought, oh boy, 10. And it was one of the more difficult things for me is to actually make phone calls and call. They didn't know who I was. And I did get rejections, especially for some of the city booksellers. They would like to have somebody that's a little more well-known. But this last year, I think I had over 30 events.
You were busy all the time.
Yeah. I think January has been the slowest month now. February, I have a couple events at the Columbia Heights Library. I'm going to be on a panel with the Sisters in Crime on the second Wednesday, I think, and then I think the third Wednesday, then I'm by myself for an author talk. So that's February. But yes, I have something going on, and I'm already starting to get my calendar starting to fill for 2017. So plus I have to schedule my events for the new book, the launch, and everything.
Well,
When
you're
we say an event, we think of going to a bookstore. But
Sometimes.
you mention a library. Do you go to schools? I mean, what are you doing for events? You're attracting people to tell them about the book?
A lot of them are in in bookstores. Some of them are at like festivals around the state. One of the successful ones is in Little Falls, Minnesota. They have an art and crafts fair. I share a booth with 2 or 3 other authors. So I go to my hometown in Olivia, Minnesota, and I am quite successful there. Hackensack, and I'm going to be doing one in Pequot Lakes this year. And then there are the panels that I do with the Sisters in Crime, where they will have like 4 women or men too. We do have men in our chapter, or an equal opportunity. And they ask questions about the various aspects of writing, specifically mysteries in most cases. And so that's been a lot of fun, and you get to know other authors and learn from them too. So.
You're staying very busy, and this is a good moment to mention with our group here is that, and we talked a little bit about it before, Midge is going to be joining our panel on the program here to be a regular, and she'll be contributing in that manner here. So you'll be seeing more of Midge as future shows come online. And we're going to change gears for a moment and stay with us, Midge, and join us for this. We have a question, a surprise question that the producer gave to us. I don't know what's in here. You don't know what's in here. The audience doesn't, but we'll have a discussion on this subject for the next few minutes, the remaining minutes of the program. If everything was known and there were no mysteries left, what would life be like? What events in your life or aspects of life itself to you find to be mysterious? Let's see, let's read that part again. What events in your life or aspects of life itself do you find to be mysterious? So if everything was known and there were no mysteries left, what would our lives be like?
Be like the 17th century, because they thought that everything had been discovered in the world of science.
I love mystery.
Yeah, well, it turned out they were wrong. So,
Yeah.
that was an interesting, kind of
Well,
detour, but
so that means to me that you would know the future, because the future is our biggest mystery.
Yeah, if there were no
what?
mystery, I would be very disappointed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to hang around.
It would be a little boring.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a lot of anxiety in the country about what's going to happen. I mean, life is a mystery, and it's full of surprises.
And there's a lot of mystery.
That's
yes.
why you in creative sports. Who's going to win today? Also, I want to say something more serious. Is I am approaching 70, and I used to be a professional actor, and I used to be in love with somebody who died. And when you get older, the question becomes, now what? You became a writer, but as you get older, and you feel you've lived your life, there's this blank canvas, and that is a mystery as to your choices. Every day we make choices. We start with the day and oftentimes don't know what's going to happen.
And that's the enjoyable part of it, isn't it?
Can be, but it can also create anxiety and concern.
Well, yeah, and boredom if nothing happens.
Well, that's your life.
That's my life. I think we have to have the mystery. I couldn't imagine not having mystery in our lives.
yeah, or uncertainty, because otherwise it's like, what's the point of going through, the timeline to find out if you already know what it's going to be?
Yeah, not to the point of fear. I could do without fear, but
I can see
uncertainty's okay.
Yeah, but fear is with us too. It's all with us. So it's kind of,
Well,
here we are.
Well, storytelling is culture. It's critical, and any book, not just mysteries, but it's a discovery process. You're on a journey. You don't know how it ends, and mysteries have been phenomenally. Look at Perry Mason. I remember growing up watching the Perry Mason mysteries, and they've always been popular. It's part of life.
If there were no mysteries, we wouldn't have books like this to read.
Well, I think mysteries have always been a really popular genre. But, if we're thinking of this in a broader aspect, I think that we have touched on a lot, that life is a mystery. We don't know what's going to happen. And I can see that it's almost like a science fiction type movie or book to think about a time when you did know everything, that you could project into the future. So I don't know how that would work, because you would be changing your actions according to what you would find out was going to happen. So I don't know how that would even play out.
You know, it's fascinating. It's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, written, what, in the 1700s? And look, it's become reality. You know, we can transplant almost anything.
I didn't know what you meant right away, but yes, I can see.
I mean, you know, we are all little Frankensteins with new hips. With any luck, I'll get your wrist if I need one. You know, whatever.
I'm going to keep it.
What's the biggest mystery?
Yeah, the meaning of life.
That is the ultimate. And it's something that we all
why
need to
are we
answer
here?
and re-ask. And I'm asking myself at this point, what is the meaning of my life? What is my purpose at this point?
But there's really probably no answer. It's like whether you want to focus on the destination or the journey. So the meaning of life would be the answer, but that's never going to become apparent, I don't think, to everybody or to anybody, or we can agree on it. And so it just makes sense.
Yeah, but also it's like, is there a God? And when you bring this subject up, like in mystery, is I personally ask for help. I reach out to the unknown or a force outside myself to help guide and direct me, because I don't know.
I couldn't approach the mystery of it all without thinking to myself, I know there's God.
Which is a choice. And a lot of people don't believe that.
No, that's true. That's true.
You know, Jeff, you touched on something when you said, what is it the destination or is it the journey? And I think that's something that I think a lot of people get caught up in the destination and forget to enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey.
You know, just to look around and you know, love all those mysteries of life, that, you know, like the beautiful roses or the laughter of children, and just those things that are miracles in themselves. I think we tend to be so goal orientated that we forget just to step
Personally,
back.
I think that we're guided. And for example, I wanted to write all my life. I've learned a lot from you today as a writer, listening to a writer. And that I really do believe we're led. And I mean, even like us coming together to do this show, meeting Michael, producer. I mean, everything kind of leads to something else, and it builds. And then you go, aha.
It really does. And we have run out of time. And thank you all for being here and helping solve the mystery of life. And thank you all for watching Generations. We'll see you again next time.